The husband didn't know. Aidan Grant, charming, confident, and secretly cruel, didn't know that his wife's baby monitor was still streaming. He thought it was off. He thought the tiny green light in their daughter's room meant nothing. But miles away, in a hospital parking lot, his wife, Lila Grant, exhausted from her night shift, opened the monitor app on her phone to check on their little girl. What appeared wasn't her sleeping child. It was Aidan, standing in their bedroom with another woman. "She's gone for the night," he whispered. "By next week, she'll be gone for good." The woman's laugh was soft, dangerous. "You really think she'll never find out?" "She won't," he said. "Not until it's too late." And that's when it hit her. Every hour she worked, every sacrifice she made, had been funding her own destruction. Her husband didn't know his wife's baby monitor was streaming. He didn't know his wife was listening. And what she heard him tell his lover made her stop blinking, stop breathing, and stare at the screen like it might swallow her whole. But what she did next, no one saw coming. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The clock struck 10:40 p.m., and the Grant house looked like a photograph too still to be real. The living room glowed under soft fluorescent light, the kind that made everything look peaceful even when it wasn't. But peace was an illusion here. Aidan Grant, 34, tall, sharp-jawed, with that practiced calm of a man who liked control, sat on the gray sectional sofa pretending to read emails. His fingers moved across the keyboard, but his eyes weren't on the screen. Every few seconds he glanced at the front door, waiting, calculating. Across the hall, Lila Grant, his wife, 29, dark curls pulled back into a messy bun, hospital badge around her neck, packed her lunch bag for her night shift. Her motions were mechanical, a rhythm built from exhaustion and duty. "Do you have to go in tonight too?" Aidan asked without looking up. His tone was light, but his voice carried a hidden edge. "I swapped shifts so we can cover the mortgage this month," she replied softly, folding a napkin. Aidan gave a dry laugh. "Yeah, the hospital never sleeps, huh?" Lila forced a smile. She'd learned that was easier than arguing. The silence that followed wasn't comfort, it was distance. From the nursery, a small hum echoed the new baby monitor she'd bought last week. Lila walked in to check on 3-year-old Maya, sleeping under a floral quilt. She bent, kissed her daughter's forehead, and whispered, "Mommy will check on you through the light, okay?" The camera's tiny green eye blinked twice, then held steady. She didn't notice. Back in the living room, she set down her coffee thermos. "The monitor's connected now. You can see her on the phone if she wakes up." Aidan's lips curved into that faint, unreadable smirk. "Yeah, got it." Beneath the calm, the air felt heavy, like two people pretending not to hear something breaking inside their marriage. Lila grabbed her keys. "I'll be home after 7. He nodded, already glancing at his phone again. A message notification flashed briefly. "Serena, you alone yet?" He swiped it away before she could see. Outside, Lila's car headlights cut through the suburban stillness. She paused at the gate, looking back at the house she once believed was her safe place. Then she exhaled, muttering to herself, "Just one more shift." Inside, Aidan rose from the couch, stretched, and checked the hallway. Maya slept. The house was his again. He walked toward the bedroom, his reflection passing in the mirror, a calm man with a storm under his skin. On the nightstand, the baby monitor light blinked twice, faint but constant. Aidan didn't notice. He thought it was off. The camera kept streaming, and somewhere miles away, the hospital parking lot lights flickered, waiting for the moment Lila would open her phone and see what no wife should ever see. As Aidan locked the front door and walked back to his phone, a faint buzz echoed from the nursery, a sound too quiet to disturb the child, but just loud enough to whisper that something had started listening. The hospital's automatic doors slammed open as Lila Grant rushed in, the echo of her footsteps cutting through the sterile silence. The hallway lights felt too bright, almost interrogating. She dropped her bag at the nurse's station and rubbed her eyes. Her pulse was racing, not from running late, but from a feeling she couldn't name. Something about the way Aidan had smiled before she left. Too calm, too sure. Inside the break room, Dr. Oliver Wells, 40, calm-eyed and compassionate, looked up from his clipboard. He'd worked with Lila for 5 years, long enough to recognize when she was running on fumes. "Rough night already?" he asked, offering a cup of water. Lila gave a tired half smile. "Just another day trying to keep everything from falling apart." Nurse Amber, 26, chatty and quick, chimed in while wiping down a counter. "You've been doing doubles all week, Lila. You're gonna crash." "I can't," Lila said, tying her hair tighter. "Mortgage is due, and Aiden's company still hasn't made a profit." Her tone cracked, and she quickly forced a small laugh to cover it. Dr. Wells studied her face. "You shouldn't carry everything alone. He's supposed to be your partner, not your weight." Lila looked away. "He's just stressed. I think once the business picks up, things will change." Her words sounded rehearsed, like she'd been telling herself that for months. The tension in her voice eased as she took a seat, staring at the vending machine lights blinking against the wall. It reminded her of the baby monitor back home, the same green light she saw before leaving, a symbol of safety, she had thought. But now, the image tugged at her chest. Across town, Aiden's living room glowed under warm amber light. He poured himself whiskey, pacing near the couch. His phone buzzed. A name flashed. "Serena." Aiden smirked and answered, lowering his voice. "She's gone. You can come." On the other end, Serena Hale, early 30s, alluring, confident, adjusted her lipstick in the mirror. "Perfect," she whispered. "I'll bring the file. We'll go over it tonight." Back at the hospital, Lila glanced at her phone for the first time in hours. No messages, no calls, only a quiet notification. Baby monitor connected. Live. She smiled faintly, comforted by the thought of Maya's breathing. She didn't open the app yet, she just placed the phone on the table beside her coffee, unaware of what that screen was already seeing. Dr. Wells sat beside her. "You look like you're somewhere else." "I just want to go home," she murmured. "But sometimes, I don't know if home wants me back." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, a low, steady hum that seemed to travel from the hospital roof all the way to her house. Lila reached for her thermos, and in the reflection of the stainless steel lid, the faint glow of her phone screen pulsed again. The live icon blinked once, twice, and for a split second, though, she didn't know why, she looked up, as if something invisible had just whispered her name. Outside the hospital, lightning briefly illuminated her parked car, just bright enough to reveal the faint glow of her phone screen. The baby monitor feed was still open, quietly streaming the truth that would soon change everything. The rain hit the windshield so hard it sounded like static, sharp, fast, relentless. Lila Grant sat alone in her car during her break, the hospital parking lot glowing with the pale light of the lampposts. Her fingers trembled as she tried to open her lunch. Her reflection in the glass looked pale and hollow, the kind of face that forgot what rest felt like. She reached for her phone. One quick look at the baby monitor app, she told herself, just to see Maya sleeping. The screen blinked, the circles spun, then the feed loaded. At first, silence, then movement. Lila frowned. The image was dark, but not empty. The bedroom camera faced the bed, where Maya's stuffed rabbit rested near the pillow. But behind the crib, two shadows crossed the frame, one taller, one slimmer. The taller figure leaned close to the camera, and her heart stilled when she recognized the voice. Aiden. Her husband's voice filled the car through the phone's tiny speaker. Low, smooth. The same voice that used to calm her on bad days. But tonight, it didn't sound like love. It sounded like plotting. "She's gone for the night," Aiden whispered. "You can relax." A soft female laugh followed. Serena Hale, the woman from his office, 30, elegant, ambitious, walked into view. Her red dress shimmered faintly in the baby monitor's grayscale feed. Lila blinked hard, thinking it was a mistake. "No," she whispered to herself. "It's maybe the camera's picking up something else." Serena's voice broke the denial. "You really think she'll never find out?" Aiden chuckled. "She's too busy saving lives to realize she's losing hers." Lila's hand froze midair, her coffee cup slipping and spilling over the steering wheel. Hot liquid burned her wrist, but she didn't feel it. She just stared. "What are you saying?" Serena teased. "I'm saying," Aiden murmured, "once the policy clears, she won't be a problem. It'll look natural: exhaustion, caffeine, maybe a heart issue." Doctors die, too, you know. Lila's entire body locked. Every sound in the world seemed to fade, leaving only his words echoing in her head. Her husband wasn't just cheating, he was planning her death. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. The baby monitor feed flickered, freezing on Aiden's hand brushing Serena's waist. The smile on his face was a stranger's. Lila covered her mouth, choking back a sob. She couldn't scream. She couldn't call. Her hands shook so violently the phone nearly slipped from her grasp. She hit record. Her instincts as a nurse kicked in panic control, calm under threat, even when her heart was breaking. She stared at the tiny green light on the corner of the screen. Still, live, still recording, still watching. Her reflection shimmered in the phone screen, eyes wide, lips trembling, and then static. The connection cut out mid-sentence. The last thing she heard was Aiden's whisper, "Once she's gone for good." Then silence. Lila screamed. And miles away, the camera light in Maya's room blinked once, then turned red. As Lila sat shaking in the driver's seat, her phone buzzed with a quiet alert. Backup footage saved to cloud. She didn't know it yet, but that single notification would become the only proof of what she'd just heard. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please, take a second to do it now. Every click, every share, every comment helps us keep telling stories that give strength to women and children who've been broken, forgotten, or silenced. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're standing beside survivors, saying their stories matter. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story that could change a life. And in the comments, tell us where are you watching from, and what part of this story spoke to your heart. The hospital hallway shook under the sound of Lila's footsteps. Her shoes slapped the floor like gunfire. Her breathing was shallow, her pulse pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. Terror and disbelief fused into adrenaline. She burst into the IT control room, small, cold, filled with humming servers and screens that glowed in shades of blue. Inside sat Eli Turner, 23, quiet and brilliant, the hospital's night shift IT technician. He spun around, startled. "Mrs. Grant? You okay?" Lila clutched her phone so tight her knuckles turned white. "The baby monitor, my feed, it just cut off. I need to restore it. Right now." Eli blinked, confused. "You mean your personal monitor?" "Yes," she snapped. Then her voice cracked. "Please, it's streaming something. It's not supposed to." He hesitated. "Ma'am, if it's a network device, I can trace the signal and recover the backup if it's synced. Just do it," she said, her tone trembling between command and fear. As he typed, lines of code filled the screen. The sound of his keyboard clacking filled the silence between them. Every second felt like a heartbeat. "There's a cloud backup," Eli finally said. "Looks like it auto-saved right before disconnection." Lila's breath caught. "Play it." The speakers crackled, and then her husband's voice filled the room again. "She's too kind for her own good. That's what makes it easy." A woman's soft laugh followed. "Serena's, you really think potassium chloride will go unnoticed?" Aiden's tone was calm, confident. "Trust me. My wife's a nurse. Everyone will just assume she made a mistake." Lila staggered back, her hand covering her mouth. Tears blurred her vision. She whispered, "He's using the same drug we store in the trauma wing." Eli's eyes widened. That's lethal." She nodded slowly, whispering through clenched teeth. "And that's exactly why he chose it." For a long, heavy moment, the only sound in the room was the low hum of the servers. The truth had dampened. Wait, it filled the air like smoke. Eli spoke quietly. "You should tell security." Lila shook her head. "Not yet. If I call too early, he'll know. I need proof of intent, something beyond words." Eli hesitated. "I can export this clip and send it to your email. It'll timestamp automatically." "Do it," she said, "and keep it between us." As the file transferred, Lila leaned against the wall, trembling. Every memory of her husband played back in fragments, his hand on her shoulder, his empty reassurances, the smirk when she mentioned overtime. All of it, lies. Her phone buzzed again, a message from Aiden. "Everything okay, babe? Miss you already." Her stomach turned. She deleted it without replying. Eli handed her a small flash drive. "Backup's here. Be careful, Mrs. Grant." She nodded faintly. "You have no idea." Lila stepped out into the hall, clutching the drive like a weapon. The corridor stretched before her, long and cold. Somewhere deep inside her, resolve replaced panic. But behind her, a faint beep came from one of the servers. Eli frowned. That's odd. On his monitor, the baby monitor feed blinked live. Again, someone at home had turned it back on. As Lila walked out into the dim corridor, the echo of her husband's voice replayed in her head. Everyone will just assume she made a mistake. For the first time, she realized it wasn't the first time someone had died by mistake in her house. Lila dropped the flash drive onto her desk with trembling hands. The sound it made was small, but it echoed like thunder inside her chest. Her reflection in the computer screen looked unfamiliar. Eyes red, face pale, soul cracked. Fear had now turned into realization. She clicked play again, forcing herself to listen to her husband's voice. Potassium chloride, Aiden said calmly in the recording. Just a few milliliters. Tasteless. Quick. No one will question it. That sentence pulled her backward in time. 3 years back to the day her father, Thomas Everett, collapsed in the kitchen. It was early morning. The smell of coffee filled the air. Lila remembered how Aiden had insisted on brewing it for her father. You rest, he'd said with that same easy smile. I'll take care of him. Her father, 60, warm-eyed and kind, had laughed. You're too good to her, son. Minutes later, the laughter stopped. Aiden's shout had shaken the house. He's not breathing. Lila had rushed in, performing CPR, counting compressions, begging her father to open his eyes. She'd blamed herself for not saving him fast enough. The coroner had called it a stroke. No autopsy, no suspicion. The life insurance had paid out 2 weeks later, Aiden's signature neat and practiced on every document. Now, listening to the recording, her heart clenched. He rehearsed it, she whispered. He practiced on my father. Her mind replayed every detail, the mild shaking in her father's hands before he fell, the bitter aftertaste she'd noticed in the coffee but ignored. Every memory became evidence. Dr. Wells found her in the break room, staring blankly at the wall. Lila, you've been here for hours. She turned to him, eyes full of tears and fire. Oliver, my husband killed my father. He froze. What are you saying? I thought it was a stroke, she said, her voice breaking. But he used potassium chloride. It mimics cardiac arrest. I should have seen it. I'm a nurse. I should have known. Dr. Wells placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You can't blame yourself for his evil. But she shook her head. I'm the reason he had access to those drugs. He used my name, my department. Every time I ordered supplies, he must have taken some. She stood, pacing, holding the flash drive like a lifeline. I have to prove it. I need his pattern, his motive. If my father's body was preserved, the toxins will still show. Dr. Wells nodded slowly. Then we start there. The county morgue keeps tissue samples for 7 years. I'll make a call. Lila's tears finally stopped. Determination replaced despair. Do it. I want the truth on record. At that exact moment, her phone buzzed on the table, Aiden's name glowing across the screen. She froze. A message appeared. Love you. Don't stay out too late. Her breath hitched. The man who murdered her father was still telling her he loved her. She deleted the message, whispering to herself, keep talking, Aiden. Every word you say is another nail in your own coffin. As doctor, Wells stepped away to make the call. The hallway lights flickered once just as a text notification appeared from an unknown number on Lila's phone. Don't trust him either. Lila's phone vibrated violently in her hand. The unknown number flashed again. Don't trust him either. Her thumb hovered over the screen, her pulse hammering in her throat. Every nerve screamed danger. She looked up Doctor. Wells was at the end of the corridor, speaking quietly into his phone. His back was turned, his silhouette stretched long under the fluorescent lights. The message replayed in her head like an echo chamber. Don't trust who? Him? The hospital? The police? Her mind spiraled until her training snapped her back into control. Panic control, calm under pressure, survival reflex. She inhaled slowly, clutching the flash drive tighter. The air in the corridor felt thin, like the walls themselves were listening. The phone buzzed again, this time a voice call. She answered. Mrs. Grant, this is 911. We received an alert from your hospital network. Your name was flagged under a domestic threat protocol. Are you safe? Her lips parted, but words struggled to come out. I think I'm in danger, she whispered. This line is recorded, the dispatcher said, calm and steady. Tell me what happened. There's a recording, Lila said. My husband, he's planning to kill me. A pause on the line. Then, do you have evidence? I do, she said, holding up the flash drive like it was oxygen. And there's more. He's done this before. The dispatcher's tone sharpened. Stay where you are. Officers will arrive soon. We'll need you to forward that file immediately. Lila's hands moved on autopilot. She inserted the drive, uploaded the video, and attached the time-stamped footage from the baby monitor. Every second of Aiden's voice, every cruel word, every quiet laugh, it all became digital proof. As she waited for confirmation, her eyes landed on her phone screen. The baby monitor app was still open in the background. Live, her heart clenched. Against her better judgment, she tapped it. The feed loaded. Her house, her living room. Aiden sitting on the couch, scrolling his phone, calm, smiling, drinking coffee. He looked at the monitor once, then directly at the camera. Her blood ran cold. It was as if he knew. He leaned forward, his voice clear and slow. If you can hear this, Lila, you should have just stayed quiet. The screen went black. Lila gasped and nearly dropped the phone. He knows, she whispered to the dispatcher. Mrs. Grant, the operator said urgently. Stay where you are. Units are en route. Dr. Wells turned toward her, confused by her pale face. What happened? He's watching me, she said, voice trembling. He's watching from home. He knows I know. Wells stepped closer, gripping her shoulders. Then you're not alone anymore. She swallowed hard, nodding. Then we act. Outside the hospital, red and blue lights appeared in the distance, sirens growing louder. Inside, the hallway lights flickered again. One bulb popped, plunging part of the corridor into shadow. Lila glanced down at her phone, and one line glowed across the screen. A new message from Aiden. Come home. Let's talk. As the sirens drew closer, a hospital security guard entered the corridor holding a phone. Mrs. Grant, he said, frowning. There's a man outside asking for you. Says he's your husband. The sound of thunder rolled over the city as Aiden Grant stepped out of his black car, umbrella in hand, his reflection bending in the wet asphalt. He was dressed perfectly gray, suit, silk tie, polished shoes like a man who had everything under control. But beneath the calm, his eyes flickered with calculation. He entered the high-rise apartment building downtown, greeted by a sleek woman in a red trench coat. Serena Hale, 31, striking and confident, waited for him at the elevator. Her perfume filled the air, sweet, dangerous, expensive. You're late, she said. Aiden smiled faintly. I had to make sure she didn't see me leave the house. They stepped into the elevator. Their reflection in the mirrored walls looked like a perfect couple, except for the tension that lived in their silence. When the doors opened on the 25th floor, a real estate agent, Mr. Dalton, stood waiting with a practiced grin. Mr. Grant, Miss Hale, right on time, he said, holding out a folder. This penthouse has the best view in the city, and it'll be ready for full ownership transfer once the funds clear. Aiden finished, taking the folder. Yes, I know. He walked through the spacious condo floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown lights. Serena trailed behind, running her fingers across the marble counters. So this is it, she said softly. Our future home. Aiden stopped near the glass wall, staring down at the street below. Once everything's settled, he said, his voice calm but cold. Once she's gone. Serena's smile faltered. You keep saying that, but it's been weeks. What if she finds out? He turned sharply. She won't. She trusts me more than herself. She thinks love means loyalty. Serena crossed her arms. You underestimate her. She's not stupid, Aiden. His jaw tightened. She's tired. That's different. He handed her the signed documents. These prove you'll get what I promised. She looked at the papers, joint accounts, offshore transfer letters, real estate deeds. Her eyes widened. This is all under my name? He nodded. Until the payout arrives. After that, I'll take control. Serena hesitated, a flicker of doubt in her voice. You're sure about this? What if something goes wrong? Aiden stepped closer, lowering his voice. Nothing will go wrong if you stick to the plan. Outside, lightning flashed against the glass. Serena flinched. For a brief moment, She saw something cold in his eyes, the kind of emptiness that devoured trust. "You talk like you've done this before," she whispered. Aiden's smirk was slow, chilling. "Let's just say, practice makes perfect." She didn't know what that meant, but her gut told her to remember it. The real estate agent cleared his throat nervously. "If we're done, I'll prepare the final transfer forms for next week." Aiden nodded. Perfect timing. As they exited, Serena caught a glimpse of his phone lighting up Lila's name on the screen. Unread. He didn't even look at it. Serena frowned, whispering to herself, "Maybe she's not as blind as you think." As Serena watched Aiden walk ahead of her through the parking garage, the echo of his last words lingered, "Practice makes perfect." She didn't see the security camera above them still recording, quietly uploading every second to the same cloud where the baby monitor had once streamed. The elevator doors opened with a metallic hiss, and Dr. Oliver Wells stepped out carrying a brown envelope marked "Confidential, County Morgue Records." His eyes scanned the nearly empty hospital corridor. The night was unnaturally still, like the air was holding its breath. He pushed through the door of the staff room where Lila Grant sat hunched over a table, staring at her phone. The glow of the baby monitor app reflected in her hollow eyes. Her coffee had gone cold. The calm before collapse had arrived. "Leela," Wells said softly, placing the envelope in front of her. "I pulled a few strings. They found your father's preserved samples." She looked up, startled, then whispered, "And?" He hesitated. "They're being retested tonight. If potassium chloride is there, it will confirm everything." Her throat tightened. She tried to thank him, but the words caught. "I don't know how to process any of this, Oliver. Every time I close my eyes, I hear his voice saying he loves me." Dr. Wells sat across from her, his tone careful, warm but firm. "You're in survival mode. Don't confuse your trauma for weakness. It means you're still fighting." Lila nodded weakly, gripping her phone. "He's at home right now, probably pretending to care about Maya. I don't even know what's real anymore." Before Wells could answer, the door opened. Detective Karen Rhodes, mid-30s, sharp eyes and short black hair, stepped inside wearing a badge on her belt. "Mrs. Grant? I was sent by 911 Dispatch. I'm here to take your statement." Lila blinked, startled by how calm the detective seemed, too calm, almost unnerving. Detective Rhodes set down a digital recorder. "You said your husband planned to harm you? You have the recording?" Lila nodded and handed her the flash drive. "It's all there, his voice, the drug, everything." Rhodes slid it into her laptop. The audio played softly. Aiden's laughter, Serena's voice, and the words that could make any heart freeze. "She'll never know until it's too late." For a long moment, no one spoke. The detective's expression hardened. "You were right to come forward. We'll secure a protective order immediately." Lila whispered. "He'll find out." Wells interjected. "We'll keep her in the staff housing wing tonight. I'll stay nearby." Rhodes nodded, closing her laptop. "Stay inside. Don't open any messages, don't answer calls. We'll handle the rest." When the detective left, Lila's composure finally cracked. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. "He's going to lose everything," she said quietly. "And I don't even feel relief, just sadness." Wells placed a hand over hers. "Sometimes justice starts as heartbreak." Lila looked up at him. "Do you ever wonder why people like him think they can get away with everything?" He hesitated, then said something that chilled her. "Because most of them already have." She froze. The line hung heavy between them. Before she could ask what he meant, her phone buzzed again. A text appeared from an unknown number. "He's not alone tonight." As Detective Rhodes reached the parking lot, she glanced at her phone. A text from an unknown sender flashed briefly before vanishing. "You're being watched too." The hospital's automatic doors flew open with a gust of cold air. Evelyn Grant, Aiden's mother, stormed in like a force of nature, heels clicking, pearls trembling, rage written across her face. Her voice echoed down the hallway before anyone saw her. "Where is she? Where is that ungrateful woman accusing my son?" Lila Grant froze mid-step outside the staff lounge. Her sister, Claire Everett, who had just arrived after Detective Rhodes's call, instinctively stepped in front of her. Claire, 32, protective, fiery-eyed, folded her arms. "You'll lower your voice. This is a hospital, not a courtroom." Evelyn's glare shot past her. You turned my son's wife against him. You always hated him because he's successful. Successful? Claire's voice trembled between fury and disbelief. He's a murderer, Evelyn. He killed our father. The corridor went still. A nurse, down the hall, paused, pretending to check charts but listening intently. Evelyn blinked, her outrage faltering for a second. Your father was old and sick. Don't twist tragedy for attention. Lila stepped forward, voice quiet but deadly clear. He wasn't sick. He was poisoned. The same way Aiden planned to poison me. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Evelyn's expression cracked, but she quickly masked it with scorn. You've lost your mind. My son loves you. He took care of this family while you ran around playing nurse. Claire snapped. Your son took care of himself. He used her money, her name, her father's trust, everything. Evelyn's hand trembled. Her denial wavered. You can't prove anything. Lila pulled the flash drive from her pocket. I can. Evelyn's eyes widened. You wouldn't dare. Lila's tone was calm but sharp enough to cut glass. He already dared first. Before the argument could explode further, Detective Rhodes appeared from the hallway, stepping between them. That's enough. Her voice carried authority. Mrs. Grant, this is an active investigation. You're not supposed to be here. Evelyn pointed a shaking finger at Lila. She's framing him. You'll all regret this when the truth comes out. Rhodes's gaze hardened. The truth already did. Evelyn's composure broke. Her eyes flickered with something deeper, fear. She turned quickly and stormed toward the exit, her heels echoing down the hall like a countdown. When she was gone, Claire exhaled, rubbing her temples. She knows more than she's letting on. Lila whispered. She always knew. She covered for him. Rhodes crossed her arms. If that's true, she's an accessory. And if she's panicking now, that means Aiden's next move is already in motion. The fluorescent lights above flickered. The hum of machines filled the silence. Lila sank into a chair, exhaustion pressing against her bones. Claire crouched beside her. We'll stop him. You hear me? We'll end this before he hurts anyone else. Lila looked up, her eyes dull but steady. He already started, and the one he's using now doesn't even know she's next. As Evelyn stepped out into the stormy night, she fumbled with her phone, dialing her son in panic. The call connected Aiden's voice smooth, cold. Don't worry, Mother, he said softly. By the time they find me, I'll already be gone. The door burst open with a loud metallic crack. Detective Karen Rhodes led the way, flashlights sweeping across the dimly lit penthouse. Dust motes floated in the air, disturbed by the sudden intrusion. Behind her came Lila Grant, her sister Claire, and a forensic technician carrying a camera. This is his secret address, Rhodes said grimly, found through property records tied to Serena Hale's name. Lila's breath hitched. The place looked expensive, glass walls, leather furniture, a bar stocked with whiskey, yet it felt lifeless, like the kind of place where truth and morality came to die. She moved carefully across the room, fingers brushing the counter. He told me he was drowning in debt, she whispered. He was living like this while I worked double shifts. Claire clenched her jaw. That's not debt. That's greed wearing your name. The forensic tech lifted a folder from the desk and handed it to Rhodes. You'll want to see this. Inside were offshore account statements, all connected to a shell company registered under Serena Hale. Each deposit matched the dates of her father's insurance payments and hospital supply orders funds that Aiden had quietly siphoned away. Lila's heart thudded painfully. He stole from the dead, she murmured, and he used me to do it. Her mind flashed back to the nights she'd balanced bills at the kitchen table while Aiden told her not to worry. His voice, his charm, it all felt like poison. Now, across the room, Claire noticed something on the shelf, a framed photo of Serena holding Maya's favorite stuffed rabbit, her face drained of color. Lila, look at this. Lila stared in disbelief. That's Maya's toy. How did she get that? Rhodes narrowed her eyes. He brought her into your home. Lila backed away, trembling. She was there? Near my daughter? Claire steadied her. He's not just cruel, Lila. He's reckless, dangerous. The forensic tech, scanning a laptop on the desk, looked up suddenly. Detective, there's a video folder here. Date stamped 2 nights ago. Play it, Rhodes ordered. The video loaded. The screen showed Aiden and Serena in that same apartment. Serena looked tense, clutching a wine glass. Aiden, what if she finds out? She asked. He smirked. If she does, it's already too late. People who dig for the truth usually end up buried by it. Lila's knees buckled. Claire caught her before she fell. Rhodes whispered, "This confirms everything." But the video wasn't over. Serena leaned closer to Aiden. "And if I change my mind?" He gave a cold laugh. "Then you'll be next." The screen froze. Everyone went silent. The room itself seemed to stop breathing. Rhodes looked at Lila. "We need to find her. If she's still alive, she's our best witness." Lila's tears turned to resolve. "Then we find her tonight." Just as they turned to leave, a phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up Serena Hale calling. Rhodes answered, voice steady. "Serena, this is Detective Rhodes." A shaky voice whispered on the line. "He knows you're there. Run." Before Rhodes could reply, the call cut to static. In the background, a faint sound could still be heard, a door slamming, a woman screaming, and Aiden's voice saying, "You should have stayed quiet." The morgue door creaked open, spilling a cold blue light into the hall. Dr. Oliver Wells led the way, followed by Lila Grant, Detective Karen Rhodes, and forensic pathologist Dr. Emmett Cole, a quiet man in his 50s with weary eyes and the patience of someone who had seen too many truths buried under lies. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air. Metal tables gleamed under fluorescent lights. On one of them sat a sealed evidence container marked, "Thomas Everett, retained tissue sample." Lila's knees went weak at the sight of her father's name. Her voice came out as a whisper. "That's him." Dr. Cole nodded gently. "We'll be precise, Mrs. Grant. Every test will be repeated and verified." Rhodes crossed her arms. "We're looking for traces of potassium chloride. The lab report from 3 years ago listed cardiac failure, no toxins screened." Cole gave a grim smile. "Because no one asked for it." He slid on his gloves and began the reanalysis, carefully placing slices of preserved tissue onto the tray. The machines hummed to life, reading each chemical trace. The rhythmic beeping filled the silence like a heartbeat. Lila clasped her hands together, trembling. "He poisoned him. Right in front of me," she murmured. "I made that coffee. I handed it to my father. I was part of it." Dr. Wells stepped beside her, voice soft but firm. "You were never part of it. You were his victim too." The machine beeped sharply. Dr. Cole leaned closer to the monitor. "There it is." Rhodes approached. "What is it?" He turned the screen toward them. "Lethal potassium concentration confirmed. Levels high enough to stop the heart within minutes." This wasn't a stroke. Lila's breath hitched. The room blurred around her. "He did it. My husband killed my father." Her words cracked like glass breaking on tile. The weight of them filled the sterile space with unbearable gravity. "Doctor," Wells whispered, "you have your proof, Lila. Now he can't hide behind lies." Lila stared at the screen. The green chemical chart reflected, in her tears. It wasn't just data, it was the sound of justice waking up. Dr. Cole sealed the evidence sample again. "This will hold in court," he said firmly. "Whoever he is, he won't get away with this." Detective Rhodes took a slow breath. "Then we move. We'll send this straight to the DA and prepare a warrant for arrest." Lila wiped her face, voice hollow but steady. "He won't surrender quietly. He'll run, or worse." Rhodes met her eyes. "Then we'll stop him before he decides worse." Just as they turned to leave, a loud metallic crash came from the far side of the morgue. The lights flickered. Dr. Cole frowned. "Did someone else come in?" Rhodes drew her gun. "Stay behind me." They approached the storage corridor. A cold draft blew through the room. On the floor lay a small evidence envelope, fresh, out of place, marked in Aiden's handwriting, "For Lila, my confession." Detective Rhodes lifted the envelope slowly, her gloves trembling. Inside, a small USB drive glinted under the morgue light, and a single note. "Play this before midnight, or you'll never see Serena again." The hospital's emergency wing roared with sirens as Detective Karen Rhodes and her team sped toward the address linked to the note. Rain hammered the windshield, lightning slicing across the sky. In the back seat, Lila Grant clutched the USB drive marked, "My Confession." Her pulse thudded in her ears. Every storm flash felt like a countdown. "Are you sure about this?" Rhodes asked, eyes on the road. "If this is a trap, we're walking straight into it." Lila's voice shook but didn't waver. "He's too proud to run. He wants an audience when he wins, or thinks he wins." Beside her, Dr. Oliver Wells gripped his seatbelt. Then let's make sure the audience claps for the right person this time. The car screeched to a stop outside the Grant residence. The neighborhood was silent, unnaturally so. The lights inside the house flickered on, off, on again like a signal no one wanted to answer. Rhodes gestured to her officers. Stay sharp. Move in pairs. They entered the house. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the living room glowed faintly with TV light. Aiden sat on the couch, perfectly composed, a half-empty coffee mug on the table. His eyes met Lila's as she stepped in. Finally, he said softly, you brought company. Every nerve in Lila's body screamed to run, but she stood her ground. Where is she, Aiden? He smiled, almost proud. Serena? She's close. Closer than you think. Rhodes stepped forward, gun raised. This is over, Mr. Grant. You're under arrest for the murder of Thomas Everett and attempted murder of Lila Grant. Aiden leaned back, calm as glass. Detective, you really should have played that drive before coming here. Lila's stomach dropped. She glanced at Rhodes. What does he mean? Aiden's smirk widened. You just sent your team into the wrong building. Before Rhodes could respond, a phone rang on the table, Serena's ringtone. A video call flashed to life. On the screen, Serena Hale, tied to a chair in a dark warehouse, her mascara smeared, eyes red. Lila, Serena sobbed. He said you'd come. He said if I talk, he'll. The video cut to static. Lila's scream cracked the silence. You monster. Aiden rose slowly, hands out. Now, let's not ruin the show. You wanted a confession? Here it is. I killed your father, yes. And Serena? She's the loose end. You brought the police, Lila, but you'll still lose. Rhodes lunged forward. Cuff him. Two officers grabbed Aiden. He didn't resist, only smirked at Lila as they forced him down. You're too late. Outside, thunder split the sky. Lila's phone buzzed an incoming message from an unknown number. She opened it, trembling. It was a live stream. Serena's face filled the frame again, whispering weakly, He's not done. There's another. The screen went black. Lila turned toward Rhodes, voice hollow. He's not working alone. As the officers dragged Aiden out, he whispered just loud enough for Lila to hear. You think you've won? The confession you have isn't the full one. The courtroom buzzed like a restless hive, every seat filled, every whisper electric. Flashbulbs flickered through the tall windows as reporters pressed against the glass. At the center sat Aiden Grant, hands cuffed, expression unreadable. His suit was still perfect, but his eyes cold, hollow, betrayed him. Across the aisle sat Lila Grant, her posture composed, her face pale but steady. Detective Karen Rhodes stood near the witness bench, while Prosecutor Miles Carter, mid-40s and sharp as a blade, arranged the case files in front of the judge's desk. The air carried the weight of something sacred truth about to be spoken aloud. Judge Rebecca Monroe, dignified and firm, struck her gavel once. Court is now in session. The state versus Aiden Grant charges: first-degree murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. The gavel's echo felt like thunder. Miles stood. Your Honor, the state presents overwhelming proof that Aiden Grant murdered Thomas Everett, his wife's father, for financial gain, and later plotted to kill his wife, Lila Grant, to secure her life insurance. Aiden's defense attorney rose immediately. Objection. There's no physical evidence tying my client to. Miles cut in smoothly. Then let's hear his own voice, shall we? He nodded toward the technician at the side of the room. A large screen flickered to life, playing the baby monitor footage. Aiden's voice filled the courtroom. She's too kind for her own good. That's what makes it easy. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Then came Serena's voice. You really think she'll never find out? And Aiden's answer, low, confident, fatal. Not until it's too late. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Evelyn Grant, seated in the second row, covered her face with both hands, shaking her head. My son, what have you done? Aiden's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Lila sat motionless, tears streaking silently down her face. Her hands gripped the edge of her seat until her knuckles went white. The evidence, the words, the betrayal, everything was finally out. Prosecutor Miles turned to the jury. This man thought no one was listening, but justice never sleeps. Technology, the very thing he used to control, became his undoing. Silence followed, the kind that suffocates. Hours later, the jury returned. 12 faces, pale with gravity. The forewoman stood. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty on all counts. The gavel fell. Aiden didn't flinch. He looked straight at Lila. You think this ends with me? He whispered, almost smiling. Lila met his gaze. It ends when you stop existing in our lives. The bailiffs led him away. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. But Lila didn't move. She stayed seated, staring at the empty chair where he'd sat, a monument to deceit and destruction. Rhodes placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. It's over. Lila shook her head slowly. No. He said there was more. The full confession. Outside, thunder rumbled again. Somewhere in evidence storage, a small envelope slipped off a shelf and fell to the floor. Its label read, Part 2. As the courtroom emptied, a court clerk picked up the fallen envelope, frowning. She turned it over in her hands and muttered, This wasn't logged in evidence. When she opened it, her face went pale. Inside was a photo of Lila and Maya, taken just hours ago. The courthouse emptied beneath a bleeding sunset, the sky a bruised mix of gold and gray. Lila Grant stood alone at the steps, the wind tugging at her coat as the noise of reporters faded behind her. The trial was over. Justice had spoken, but silence now felt heavier than the verdict. She looked down at her trembling hands. No handcuffs, no microphones, just peace and the strange weight of survival. Detective Karen Rhodes joined her quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. Decaf this time, she said with a faint smile. You've earned it. Lila managed a small laugh, the first in what felt like years. It's strange, she said softly. I thought winning would feel like breathing again. But it just feels empty. Rhodes nodded. That's what truth does. It sets you free, but it doesn't heal the scars. They stood together in silence, watching the last light fade from the courthouse windows. The rhythmic sound of police radios hummed faintly in the distance. Then Lila's phone buzzed. She froze. It was a message from an unknown number. For one awful second, her heart seized, but when she opened it, her breath caught it was a photo of Maya, her daughter, smiling in the garden that morning. Safe, innocent, untouched by the storm her mother had survived. A single tear fell, not of pain but release. He didn't destroy her, Lila whispered. That's what matters. Dr. Oliver Wells approached, coat folded over his arm. His face carried the fatigue of long nights and quiet victories. The DA confirmed, he said gently. The confession and evidence files close every thread. No accomplice, it's done. Lila turned toward him. Then maybe it's time I start living again. Wells smiled faintly. You already started, Lila. The moment you stopped running. Rhodes checked her watch. We'll assign patrol near your house for the next few weeks. Just protocol. Lila nodded, her eyes following a lone dove flying across the fading sky. Thank you for believing me when it was just a story no one wanted to hear. Rhodes shrugged. Stories like yours remind people why we fight. Lila smiled, the corners of her eyes wet. Then maybe, tell them this one ends with peace. As they turned to leave, she glanced back at the courthouse one last time. The reflection of the setting sun shimmered in the glass doors, glowing like the halo imagery from the baby monitor that started it all the night when she was a nurse, a wife, a mother, and a woman almost erased by love. Now, she was something else entirely. Whole. She whispered to herself, technology tried to destroy me, but it also saved me. The wind carried her words away. In the distance, a small figure, Serena Hale, watched from across the street, sunglasses hiding her swollen eyes. She placed a white envelope on the hood of a police car and walked away. Rhodes noticed it seconds later and called out, Wait, who was that? But when she looked again, the street was empty. Lila picked up the envelope, her pulse calm this time. Inside was a single photograph. Her, Maya, and her late father smiling in sunlight. On the back, a handwritten note read, Some endings are just new beginnings, written in quieter ink. As Lila walked into the amber glow of dusk, the world no longer looked dangerous, just alive. The storm had passed, leaving behind something stronger than fear, peace, and for the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned.